Welcome back to Everything We Know. We have a new poll out from Fox News. And before we really dive in, let's see how accurate this poll is likely to be. First off, they conducted it under Beacon Research, which is a Democratic polling organization, and Shaw and Company Research, which is a Republican polling organization. Now, when these three organizations, Fox News, Beacon Research, and Shaw and Company, team up together, they're rated with an A from 538. They've analyzed 46 polls from this group of three. They called 75% of the races correctly. So that's actually really, really good. Some of these, not so much. Um, Jayhawk, C or D, um, Fort Hays State University, not too great. But when these three get together, they are about as good as you're going to get. It's not Seltzer and Company, which is, according to 538, the most accurate polling. Um, but they're really up there. All right. So what are the big takeaways from this poll that came out June on June 15th? All right. Job approval ratings. If you look at this job approval rating since April of last year, it's been on a steady decline and has reached its lowest job approval rating in this poll so far at 43%. Disapproval, 57%. Um, and it seems very polarizing. If you disapprove, you're more likely to strongly disapprove. Let's zoom in here, make it a little bigger for you. You're likely to strongly disapprove. And if you approve, you're likely to somewhat approve. So if you approve of the job that President Biden's doing right now, it's likely not a very strong approval. When we look at how he's handled the issues, disapproval in terms of Russia's response to the invasion of Ukraine, 52 to 42. Border security, only about a third of Americans approve of the job that Joe Biden is doing on handling border security. On guns, it's even worse for him. Once again, 33% in this latest poll. And his disapproval ratings are going up. You got a bunch of people who are shifting from the don't know column to a disapproval column. On the economy, we look back a year ago, he was at 51% approval rating. Now he's down at 29%. And it's been this steady decline basically since January of this year. There have been some ups and downs since then, or before then, but all in all, less than a third of Americans approve of the way he's handling the economy. Less than a quarter approve of the way he's handling inflation. Now, when we look at the job that Congress is doing, well, their disapproval ratings are even higher. Their approval ratings are even lower, at only 21% approval ratings, which they haven't been able to get really more than a third of the country to approve of them in the last 10 years or so. Their high was when they asked this question in March 2009, where they got a 41% approval rating. The record low, just 4 years later, at 9%. All right. In terms of a few organizations, the NRA, there's a unfavorability rating, 47-42. NRA is not incredibly popular. It is very polarizing. And if the election for Congress were held today, Republican candidate in the district would win by 3 points over the Democratic candidate. You still have 5% undecided, which is really one of the lowest number of undecided voters since they began asking the question back in 2010. Only last year, earlier this year, did you have a lower number, and that's 4% of voters being undecided. And then, like we've been going over these previous polls, which of the following issues will be the most important in deciding your vote for Congress? Right now, inflation, higher prices is 41%. Nationwide, that is the big issue, followed by guns at 12 and abortion at 10. Border security is at 7, and it basically just falls off from there. Coronavirus Democrats and Republicans collectively are really done with it. It's not a big political issue anymore for most people. Foreign policy, um, you know, the war in Ukraine is overseas, and doesn't directly affect the lives of Americans, except in how it impacts the economy and its inflation, higher prices, the economy overall that Americans care about. Um, and when we look at which party that Americans believe are going to um, do the better job on, sure, Democrats lead in terms of climate change, abortion, voting rights, election integrity, coronavirus. They're tied on gun policy, 47-47. Preservation of American democracy, it starts to shift toward Republicans. But when we get toward the big issues, um, like inflation and higher prices, 41% inflation and higher prices, it is clear that Americans view Republicans as being better on that. There's a 19-point Republican lead on that. Um, Abortion is an 8-point lead for Democrats, but there's just not enough of America who really care about it as the biggest issue for them. So, um, with everything that we've gone through so far, we can see that Republicans are likely to win a lot of House seats. Anything that's kind of on the edge is going to go Republican because of this one major issue: inflation, higher prices, and the fact that the approval ratings for Joe Biden on almost all of these issues are in the negative. So his disapproval ratings tend to dominate those. So there you go. Quick video for today. I'm Matthew Lucci. This is Everything We Know.